friends, my name is McKenna and welcome to Hi friends, my name is McKenna and welcome to Knit Between the Lines, a knitting podcast. This is a podcast where I like to chat about wow. Y'all, you can tell it has been a long work week. Again, let's try that again. This is a podcast where I like to chat about what I'm knitting, spinning, what I'm reading, and any other fun stuff I might get up to along the way. So grab whatever project you're working on and let's jump into it. Might as well talk about the elephant in the room and start with finished objects first because we're wearing her. This is the Oversized Seasons Cardigan by Ozetta and has been a long-awaited finished object for the podcast. I cast this on probably sometime in September. The actual start date of the project from when I swatched is on my Ravelry. And I've been working on it probably for about a month and a half, if not 2 months, because she is a half fisherman's rib oversized cardigan and I love her very, very much. It is using a worsted weight yarn. I specifically used Hue Loco's worsted yarn in her Fireside colorway, which is from her Cozy in Colorado collection from a couple years back. I had this yarn in my stash for a while. I really like how it turned out. It is super cozy and it is very warm because the fabric is quite thick. I very much love it. I love the color. It is very squishy. I will say after blocking, it definitely grew a lot more lengthwise than I was expecting. I was definitely expecting more of a widthwise growth because of the half fisherman's rib. I think just the weight of the actual garment itself, because the fabric is so dense, did cause it to grow quite a bit lengthwise. And I'm usually not one for a longer cardigan, but I'm not mad about it either. It is very comfy. I really like it. The buttons that I chose, I've also had in my stash for a while, but I did buy them specifically for this yarn choice with whatever pattern I did end up using it for. I purchased these from Gwen Abella Filato's studio. She is a yarn dyer, but she also sells a collection of buttons. I've bought a couple from her, but these ones are really cute, terrazzo. Let me see if it'll focus. They're terrazzo ceramic buttons, so they're kind of like a clay ceramic, and they all have a variance of color. So there's a taupey brown, black, gray, and they're kind of an orangey tint to that brown. And I just think it's really, really pretty. I really like them. I feel like it adds a fun element to the sweater, not just a typical wooden button. I think it's very pretty and very fun. I really, really like it. The sweater is very cozy. I do feel like I will be living in it. I very much enjoy it. I do wish it was a little shorter, and I will warn you that if you do knit this pattern, I do wish the pattern was written a little bit better. I think it's just because I'm not used to Ozetta's writing style for patterns. I think she's just under the impression that you probably have a lot more knowledge about knitting and construction and the way things are done than maybe you do. Or I'm just used to patterns being way more here, not spoon feeding it to you, but just being a little more here's how you do it. So her video tutorials that she offers are really, really helpful because she does show them to you, but it's not exactly how she states it in the pattern. So I will say, if you are knitting this pattern, definitely use the video tutorials because the video tutorials are really helpful and it does show you how to do it, but it's not necessarily how it's stated word for word in the pattern, because how I was doing it as it was written was not how she was showing it in the video. But maybe again, that just might be because I'm not used to how she writes her patterns, and she's probably operating that you have a baseline understanding on construction and how things are just done when you're knitting when it comes to picking up stitches and increases and things like that. So just as a heads up. But really, really like it. The one thing I will say also, there is 4 inches of knit one purl one ribbing at the bottom of this cardigan, which does cause it to cinch in quite a bit at the bottom, which is not my favorite. I don't mind it. I don't really plan on wearing this cardigan closed because it is quite a deep v-neck, especially, well, considering the size that I specifically knit for myself. So the v-neck hits me right about here. That's the top button, which is quite low. Whereas when I typically button up my sweaters, I want them to button here. So I probably could throw in another button, but that wouldn't fit with how the increases happened with the knitting. Anyway, so I don't really plan on knitting this cardigan, or I don't really plan on wearing this cardigan buttoned up, so the actual cinching at the bottom isn't gonna bother me any. But if you do plan on knitting this and that is going to bother you, either don't knit the ribbing as long or just like omit the ribbing, and you can honestly just continue with a half fisherman's rib and maybe just end it there. Totally up to you with what you want to do. But all in all, that being said, I do really, really like this. I feel like if I do ever knit it again, I will probably keep those things in mind. But I will be wearing this quite a bit. I do plan on probably wearing this on the plane ride home this next week, which I'll get into in my life section. But really, really like it. I really love the color. I feel like it looks very, very nice, very rich. So I am absolutely obsessed. The size I chose was size 5, which ended up giving me I think a 53-inch finished bust circumference, which is 6 inches. So just an inch less than like the recommended positive ease. And that's just because like my bust has been fluctuating. So I'm at about a 46-inch right now, and I didn't want to go too oversized. And I ended up having to use a US 7 for my needle, which is a 4.5 millimeter, I believe. And then for the Knit As You Go button band, it's ribbing. It is not a double knit button band. It is a ribbed button band. It's just vertical. So it's a knit 1, purl 1 button band, but knit as you go. I used a US 5, which is a 3.75. So I basically just went down 1 needle size than what is suggested in the pattern in order to achieve gauge, because my gauge was too large with the recommended needle size and my fabric was just too open in my personal opinion. So, but all that being said, really happy with the end product. I will be wearing this open, super cozy. I really, really like it. I think it looks really nice and classic with a white t-shirt on underneath of it, or even with just like a regular t-shirt, but super love it. I still recommend the pattern. I would just kind of keep those caveats in mind as you go, and I will be kind of updating my notes on my pattern page or my project page with these kind of my opinions going forward. So my opinions are listed for anyone who happens to be kind of scoping out, because I know I do that when I'm picking a pattern to do. I like to go through a bunch of people's different project pages and kind of see what are their opinions about the pattern, what was their experience knitting it, do they have any advice or anything like that, because that kind of helps me form my opinion on like, am I gonna knit this? How am I gonna knit it? Are there any modifications I'm gonna make before I get started, so I know that I'm gonna love the end product? So, and I know a lot of people don't do that, and I think we should change that, because I think it's very helpful and it helps support the community. So, but yeah, Oversized Seasons Cardigan by Ozetta. I really like it. I'm really excited to eventually like take some really nice pictures of these, but I think it's really lovely. I also feel like I'm living like my librarian dream with my hair up in a clip and this like really cozy, squishy, oversized cardigan and my glasses. So, but that being said, this is my only finished object, so let's jump into works in progress. I only have 2 works in progress at this current time after finishing my sweater, because I'm trying to clear off my needles because I am going on a trip next week, so I'm trying to clear off my needles so I can cast on projects for my flight and for my trip. So it's intentional, you guys, it's intentional. Let's talk about the Oslo hat by Petite Knit. This is a hat that I cast on for my partner, Cameron. This is going to be one of his Christmas gifts. He already knows about it. He's seen me work on it. This became my transit project because I do take the bus to and from work every day, and it's like a 20-minute commute, so it is nice to have something to do with my hands, and especially something that is stockinette, because especially right now with the time change and we're back into standard time, it is dark in the mornings when I go to work and it's dark in the evenings when I come home. So having something that's stockinette makes it really easy to knit, because I don't exactly have to see what I'm doing. I can kind of go by feel, which is really nice. So, and the Oslo hat is a stockinette hat. So I've been working on that when I've been on the bus, and as well as when I'm on my lunch breaks, which has been really nice. I've been getting a lot of progress on it lately, and it is turning out really great. So let me grab that. I'm actually obsessed with the yarn that I'm using for this. So I bought this yarn with the intention of using it for this pattern and for Cameron. This is the Tomato colorway from Explore Knits and Fibers on their Rockies DK base from their Farmer's Market collection. Listen, I love red yarn. I love red accent colors. I just can't really wear them because I feel like red makes my face look really red and pink. So, but I love them in a good accessory, and I just feel like Cameron would look really cute with a little red like cap on his head. But Tomato Tomato is a really beautiful, like variegated red colorway. Oh, it looks so nice. So last time I think you guys saw this, it was all like scrunched up on my needle, so you couldn't even tell what's happened. But as you can see, I've gotten so much freaking progress on this. Like, I folded the brim, I've done like the little pearl band here, I've turned it, and we're just knitting the rest of the cap. So it has gotten a lot of love lately. It is so nice. Like, I feel like the yarn like makes this hat. It just looks so great. And Cameron is one of those people where when I knit him hats, specifically hats, he doesn't like, he's fine with like a solid color, but he really does like a variegated yarn or like a speckled yarn. Like, he likes there to be like some pizzazz in his stuff. So almost every yarn I've knit him has some sort of variegation or speckle, or like his hand-spun Harlow hat that I made him has like almost like a striping effect to it, and he loves them. Like, he's not a fan of just like tonal yarns. So he was super stoked when like I showed him this colorway. But it is going really, really well. I'm super excited about it. I am knitting the adult large. Cameron has a 24-inch circumference for his noggin, and I think this has a finished circumference of 23 inches, which should be perfect because you want your hats to have about an inch of negative ease anyway. Just because if you knit your hats with no ease or like 0 ease, it's gonna fall off. You want your hats to have a little bit of negative ease so they like fit and they're a little snug, so they don't fall off your head and they like actually stay in place. So yeah, so I think at this point, the last time I measured, I was at like 5 inches, so I think I only have another inch before I start doing the decreases. So I'm almost done with this, and this has been like really, really nice. I feel like this gives a similar vibe as the Musselburgh hat by Isolda Teague, essentially just like knitting stockinette the whole time. The only difference is that the Musselburgh hat, you start with the increases. You like do a pinhole cast on, and then you do a bunch of decreases. Oh my god. You start with a pinhole cast on of your choosing, and then you do a bunch of increases, and then you can determine your gauge as you're doing the increases to just figure out how many you need to do in order to knit the size that you're looking for. And then you knit a big old long tube for the length that you need, and then you do decreases, and then you essentially fold it in on itself in half, and then you fold the brim up. So you get like a 4-layer brim. And a lot of people like that pattern because it's essentially gaugeless. You can use any yarn from like fingering weight up. I think it's written up to a DK, but depending on how tight you knit, you probably could sub in a worsted if you wanted to. But you can essentially use any yarn that you want, and there's like endless ways to modify it to where you could have like 4 different color combinations to have like a different brim with the different like cap, and then you can flip it inside out and have another different brim with a different cap. Like, a lot of people have done so much to modify that pattern, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to use an entire skein of fingering weight yarn. So I feel like this gives the same vibe, but it's not as versatile. Like, it's not written to where you can use any weight of yarn with any gauge like the Musselburgh hat is. But I do really, really like this. It is very nice. Cameron does like his caps to be a little more fitted. He's not a like slouchy beanie kind of guy, and he has got a pretty like wide head, so I think it'll sit really, really nice on him, and I feel like he'll really like this. I think this will be a nice little pop of color for him in the winter. So this, even though this is almost done, I'm not giving this to him until Christmas, and I think he's kind of upset about it because I think he wants to wear it now, but he can't open it until Christmas. So this is also going to be nice for him to have because obviously the sweater has not been cast on yet, especially because the needles I need are still on a project that I'm trying to finish before I leave, so then I can swatch and then cast on Cameron's quarter zip before I leave. So there's a plan, you guys. There's a plan. It's fine. He's still going to have things to open for Christmas. He's still going to have a knitted item to open for Christmas because I love him and he's knit worthy. The sweater's just going to come at a later date. It's fine. I will be better next year. I think I just thought I was going to be able to knit through my existing projects a lot quicker, and then I just hit like a mode of like, I don't want to knit on anything. I'm too exhausted, and that really just kind of threw a wrench in my schedule. But it's fine. But I really, really like this. I do want to knit one for myself. I just really, really enjoy this. I do feel like it is very similar though to the Musselburgh hat, so like I don't know if you really need to purchase the Oslo hat if you already have the Musselburgh hat. I feel like it's a very similar like kind of style and fit, especially because for the Musselburgh hat you could get the same like close to the head style by just not knitting it as long, and you could do that by trial and error or just kind of figuring out length over time. So, but I really like it. It's written really well. It's really easy. You know, it's neither here nor there. It's a very similar vibe, but I really like it. I already have the pattern and I do plan on knitting one for myself. Explorer Knits and Fibers did their Leave No Trace recently, but they did it a little bit differently where you kind of have an idea at least at what color you are getting, and I requested Yokel Sorlon specifically, which is almost like a navy, but it's a little bit brighter of a navy, and I feel like I would wear the crap out of that as a Oslo hat. So I purchased 2 skeins of that for myself, so we'll see. But really liking this. I think the red variegation looks so nice. I feel like he'll wear this all the time. And he did request specifically more beanies from me since he shaved his head and committed to the bald lifestyle. So as a knitter and as a wife, I have to follow through because he is very knitworthy. So I think he'll really enjoy this, and I really have enjoyed knitting on this. So my next and final work in progress is, you guessed it, the Pressed Flower Shawl by Amy Christoffers, or Savory Knitting. Guys, I am so close to finishing this. I know this has also been a long-standing whip on the podcast. I feel like the last like 4 episodes have been all about this and my shawl, but we're so close. I will bring it out here in a second to show you, but I am like, we are on the last repeat of this colorwork motif, and then we just got the border and then she's done. So after the podcast this weekend, my plan is to get through this repeat, get the border done, and then hopefully I don't fly out until Thursday. So my plan is to like finish this up by Tuesday, if this is the only thing I'm knitting on, and get it blocked so then I can use my needles to swatch for Cameron's quarter zip. And then if I need to go buy mohair, just in case my gauge is still a little small, then I can go to my local yarn store and get some mohair, and we'll play around with it a little bit. But I have plans, So we've already chatted about this guy for so long, so you guys probably already know all the details about it. But if you're new here, this is the Pressed Flower Shawl by Amy Christoffers. It is a beautiful colorwork motif that is very popular pattern in the knitting community. There is a pattern for everyone. If shawl knitting is not your vibe, there's a cardigan, there's a pullover, there's a sock, there's socks, there's a hat, there's a cowl, there's like a whole bunch of stuff. So I've also already knit the cardigan. I love it. It is one of my most worn finished projects. I get a ton of compliments on it. I wear it all the time. Beautiful. If mosaic colorwork, if you're not familiar with, is a form of colorwork where you're only ever holding one color at a time, so you don't have to worry about managing floats, which is super nice. You're only working with one at a time, so you're not holding like 2-3 different colors at once, so you're not worrying about managing your yarn. So if you're new to knitting, or just new to colorwork in general, and stranded colorwork or intarsia freaks you out, I definitely recommend mosaic colorwork. I love mosaic colorwork, and I feel like the pressed flowers motif is very approachable. It's very easy to memorize, and it also has a little bit of texture in it too. So I feel like it just gives a really beautiful overall effect as well. So here she is. Back her up a little bit. Absolutely beautiful. Oh my god, guys, the sun's coming out. It was just raining, and it was like super gray and rainy. I'm so stoked. Anyway, absolutely beautiful. We love her. I love this. I feel like even with this cardigan, it would look really nice. But the yarn that I chose, this is DK weight, which is what the pattern suggests. The yarn that I chose is from Made by Haley Bailey, which is a local Portland dyer. Absolutely love her. I've talked about her every podcast lately. Nature-inspired yarn. She currently has a bird collection where she, well, not a collection, but a yarn club. So every month she does a mystery skein that is inspired by a bird, and they're all beautiful. I am not a part of this yarn club because, you know, money be tight, especially during the holidays. But they're really, really cool. I love her dye style. I love the color she chooses, and I love that they're all nature inspired. But the yarn that I chose for this specifically, I bought at Flock in Seattle in August with my friend Delaney when we went. And I chose her colors Anthocyanin, which is this really beautiful brown color. It is like very cool toned and has a purple undertone, which I think is very gorgeous. I feel like very much complements my skin. I like to think that I'm a cool toned girly. I have no clue. I am awful determining undertones. So like, and I say that and I'm wearing a obviously warm toned rusty orange. So like, take it with a grain of salt, you know, like whatever, wear whatever you want to wear. Anyway, so that's my main color, and then my contrast color is Muslin Moth, which is a beautiful taupey. I think this is the first time you can actually tell that there is a purple undertone to it because the sun is actually out and I'm not working in like absolute darkness in my office, which is nice. But purple undertone together, they look gorgeous. I really love it. Again, not a neutral girly, but I feel like this is just really, really nice. I feel like it almost has like a pinky vibe together in the shawl, but she's beautiful. I love her. Mosaic also does take a really long time. Very similar to like the Half Fisherman's Rib cardigan. You're essentially knitting the same row twice, which is probably why both of these projects feel like they've taken so freaking long to knit, and I knit them both at the same time. So really excited to get this finished. I think I just started the last, I just started the last repeat of the like regular mosaic repeat. Let me check, let me count. Yes, I am on the last repeat before the border, and I think the border only has like 3 of the flowers in the repeat, or 3 of the flowers in like the border, and then you just cast off. I think it might be an I-cord. I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to look at the pattern. But we're close. We're getting there. We're just at the point now where there's just so many stitches. So it's gonna take me a minute. I just really gotta buckle down and like do it, especially if I'm trying to get these needles free. I do have other size 6s, you guys, but they're my metal needles, and I'm a wood needle person, especially because I knit really loosely. I knit really loosely, and metal or wooden needles just give me that extra little grip that I need. Especially because the yarn that I'm planning to use for Cameron's quarter zip does have a little bit of acrylic in it, so it's kind of slick. So I don't really want to use metal needles because I feel like that's gonna just ask for my stuff to A, fall off my needles, and B, my gauge is gonna be like wonky as all hell. So I'll show you the yarn later as a reminder on what we're working with. But Cameron has pretty sensitive skin and he's pretty sensitive to scratchy wool, so I kind of wanted to go with a safer option, even though he probably will wear a t-shirt underneath of this, but this is the color that he liked of the yarn options that I gave him. And with him having sensitive skin, I just did not want to get him like a super woolly wool. So that's why we went with that yarn, but we'll talk about that later. But really love how this is turning out. I'm like super stoked that you guys could actually see like the purple undertones in these colors now that the sun's out. But I really, really am enjoying it. I am also ready for it to be over. This is why like I can only ever knit like a mosaic project like one at a time, and like I need a break in between because there gets a point where I'm like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. This is a lot. But yeah, you're essentially knitting each row twice because you're knitting with one color and then you have to go back and knit it with the other color, which is why it like takes forever. And the length is actually, it kind of squishes itself because you're pulling the stitch up, because when you're knitting with the one color that you're actually working with, you're slipping the other one. So it does make for a long haul project, but the end result is absolutely beautiful. And I know this is something that I will grab for and wear for a very, very long time. And I also feel like this is something that I would like hand down in my family to either like a niece or my child if we do decide to have children later on. But absolutely love it. It's turning out gorgeous. She no longer fits on my longest cable, and I will not be connecting cables because that just seems annoying. But we're close. And you know, worst case scenario, if I don't finish it and I have to bring it on my trip, that's fine. It'll be what it'll be, and I'll bring the things that I need to bring in order to swatch and block for Cameron's thing, and we'll cast on Cameron's thing when I'm home. But whatever, it's fine. We love her. We're gonna try our best to finish it, but she's gorgeous, and I'm really excited for her to be done. A, so I can have it, be so I can work on literally anything else. Okay, that's all I have for works in progress and finished objects, but I do kind of have a fun, like, kind of spinning thing, but also more of just like a Christmas Advent thing, which is super fun. I mentioned it, I think a couple episodes ago when I actually received it as an acquisition, but it is my Hedgehog Fibers 12 Days of Spinning Advent that I actually have gotten to open a couple days of, and today, as I'm filming, is the 6th of December, a Saturday, but this isn't gonna go up until tomorrow, Sunday the 7th. So we're gonna open day 6 together, but I'm gonna show you technically day 1 and 2 that I opened on December 2nd and December 4th, and then we're gonna chat about it, and I'm really, really excited about it. So let me grab it. So this is my first spinning Advent. I have never gotten a fiber Advent before. I always wanted to try Hedgehog Fibers, like fiber in general. I just think their colors are super, super fun, and I just never pulled the trigger. But I saw Andrea Mowry do this Advent last year, and I just thought it was super, super cool. Like, the colors were super neat. I also really loved how she decided to use it. She ended up making like faux lags out of them and then parallel drafting everything together, which I thought was super, super neat. I can't remember her name, the lady behind Hedgehog Fibers, but I think it was 2023 Advent. At some point, she did say that if you manage the fiber good, or if you manage the fiber well, she was able to spin and knit a full half fisherman's rib cardigan out of the Advent. Granted, I'm larger than she is, but it's good to know that we have aspirations, right? We have aspirations. So, I have to weigh the individual fibers, but let me show you what day 1 and 2 look like, and then we're gonna open day 3 together. This is a 12-day Advent, so you open it every other day, so you don't have 24 like you would like a regular yarn Advent, but that's fine. That's a lot of fiber, but you do get a decent amount of fiber per thing. Let me go. We'll weigh it together. I haven't actually weighed it. I think she said you get 40 ounces of fiber though, total, but I could totally be making up that number. We'll see. So, this is day 1. Oh, here. This is the mood board she had posted relating to the Advent. We'll post that here real quick, get you a good look. This is what the mood board looked like. This mood board is what I think made me pull the trigger on buying the Advent. Because I was like, oh, this just looks very like wintry and fun, but like also like I love how Hedgehog Fibers puts like pops of color in their fiber. I don't know, it just looked very fun. I was very excited. So, day 1. So the fiber content for day 1, or I think for all of them, because day 2 had the same fiber content. So it's 75% Polworth, 12.5% camel, and then 12.5% mulberry. Like mulberry silk, which I think is super cool. So I feel like that means like this would be, if it wasn't like a bunch of ounces of fiber, this could be like really great for socks. But, so here's day 1. Very beautiful, more white, but we've got like this really pretty blue, we've got like this orangey yellow gold, we got some greens. Very beautiful and very soft, you guys, like it is soft. And there's like a little bit of shine in there, which I'm assuming is probably the silk. And there's like a smidge of pink, right? So day 1. And then day 2, way less white, that blue is way darker, and we're getting way more of that pink. So this is what they look like together. So this makes me think we're going into a fade, right? Like this is giving me fade vibes. This is my theory, right? I'm super stoked about this. And I feel like this very much did capture the mood board, because the mood board was heavy on like the like blue, white, wintry vibes, but then there was that like antique plate picture that had those like greens and oranges and pinks in it. So I think that's where that inspo is coming from. So now let's open day 3, which I'm like super, super excited about. Okay. Also, like, hopefully, since I'm posting this a day late, you've already opened your Advent if you have this Advent. But if you don't want to get spoiled and you've not opened it yet, fast forward or pause. We can open it together, or you can fast forward and open it later. Up to you. But yes. All right, you guys ready? Whoa. Okay. Maybe not a fade, I don't know, or maybe it is a fade. You never know with hedgehog fibers, okay? So so we're going like green-blue, right? Look at that, you guys. Don't focus on my face. That is so pretty. This feels like almost like Aurora Borealis, like Northern Lights vibes. I feel like that would spin up so freaking cool. Stop it. Okay, so let's see them together. Okay, so day 1, day 2. Let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can get my hands to do the thing that I want them to do. Okay, and then, okay, I feel like it's still doing the thing. I'm still gonna stick with my theory that it's gonna fade. Guys, especially because when you spin this, depending on how you want to spin it, like if you were just to spin it end to end, it would definitely blend the colors out. Oh, I can't. That's going to be so cool. And I've not spun with silk or camel either, and I think the camel is what's making this so soft. I'm really excited. I'm not going to spin anything until I see everything, because I just want to see all the colors together, because I think Andrea had decided to like parallel, like she made all of hers into Rolags and then she like parallel drafted, which I thought was super neat. So I don't know, I don't want to make any decisions on how I want to spin until I've seen everything. But this is really cool. I really, really like it. I would be really intrigued to see like how all of this spins up. But if you guys have a fiber advent or this one, let me know your thoughts and how you feel about everything. I think this is really cool and really, really pretty. But let me show you how I'm like kind of keeping everything in here. This is how I'm like storing everything. So you can kind of see them as you open them, which I think is super fun. I think it's so cute. But yeah, this is my advent for now. I do have a yarn advent that is a little late, is the Knotty Pine fiber advent for 2025. I had her advent for 2024. It was her Western advent, which was super, super cool. She basically did a combination of like a striping fade. So like, I think it was the odd numbers were a fade, and then the even numbers were like, not solids, but they were they were what caused the striping, but they were complementary to the faded colors. So like it caused like a fade, but also stripes at the same time, which I thought was super neat. I've not actually used that advent yet. It's still in my stash. I've just not, I haven't decided how I want to use it yet. I really wanted to use it like in some sort of like cardigan or a sweater, but unfortunately with me just being a larger person, like I don't have enough yardage in a advent to do that, which makes me sad, but it's fine. And I don't know if I want to use it in a blanket. We'll see. But either way, so I decided to get her 2025 advent, which is her homestead advent, and it's quilt inspired. So everything is going to be like color block, essentially. So I'm assuming it's going to be a lot of like tonals, and I'll pop up the inspiration photo that she posted for the announcement of the advent. And I like just really liked the idea of the quilt square like inspiration, and based off like the photo and the color story in the inspo photo, it was giving very like rusty muted colors, which I think is just really fun, and I think it would look really nice in my living room. So, and she offered listings where you could get, I think, 4 or 5 bare skeins of either fingering weight or DK weight yarn if you wanted to knit like a blanket, which was really nice. And she even suggested like pattern inspiration for like Laura Penrose's Sweet Shop blanket or her Stella quilt blanket, because she was like, this would be perfect for those patterns. That's essentially like the inspiration for this advent. And I was like, you know what? I love it when I don't have to think about things. So I bought the advent with the 5 skeins of bare yarn, and I'm gonna be doing the Sweet Shop blanket by Laura Penrose. I was like, I love when I don't have to think about what pattern to use or what my main color is gonna be. I love when I don't have to think about that stuff, and I can just buy the things and buy the patterns. It's already been decided. That's my favorite, especially when I work in healthcare and I have decision fatigue. This is great. So unfortunately I haven't received it yet. She's had a lot of like life circumstances with the selling of her house, and they were kind of like displaced, and had to find a temporary location for them to like live and to dye her advent. It was in the middle of her advent dyeing. So like it kind of threw her whole schedule off the rails. So she was super apologetic and felt really, really bad, which I totally get it. Life happens. Is it disappointing that I didn't get to open it on December 1st? Yes, but also we're all human and like shitty things happen to everybody. Like we all need to be gracious to people, especially with everything going on. So I will be getting it though. It is expected to be delivered here on Monday. So you know what's super exciting is I get to open 8 days worth of yarn. So I'm really, really excited about that. But I chose the DK weight option, which is on her tweed base. So I'm gonna have a really cool like tweedy, quilty sweet shop blanket that I'm gonna keep on the back of my couch in my living room, and I think it's gonna be so fun. It is really, really unfortunate though that the backlash she has received from some of her customers has caused her to decide to not do advents anymore, which makes me very sad because I do love the colors that she dyes, and I really loved the advent that I got from her last year, and I loved the inspiration for the advent for her this year. So it's really unfortunate that people weren't able to give her grace this year, but she needs to make the decision for what's best for her and her business and her well-being. So, but maybe things will change by the time next year and she'll decide to re-dye, or maybe sometime in the future she'll decide to dye advents again. But I am really excited to receive it on Monday and open a bunch of yarn and get my sweet shop blanket hopefully cast on, and then I'll be able to work on it when I get home from my trip. But I think it'll be a really cool blanket, and I'm really excited to see what color she dyed. So I don't have any new acquisitions right now, so let's jump into some life stuff. So I'm not really reading anything new or watching anything new. I'm still reading The Primal of Blood and Bone by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have not made much progress because I've been doing a lot of knitting. I've been busting out a lot of knitting, trying to get my projects done in order to get Cameron's quarter zip cast on, so not much progress there. Still enjoying it despite what we talked about last week with the progression of the love interest, which I'm not loving the foreshadowing of, but you know, it is what it is. This was also a situation where this was supposed to be the last book in the series, but then she announced that she was splitting it because she didn't feel like she could finish it. But I feel like sis might have just needed a better editor, and an editor that would be honest with her, that hey, maybe this isn't necessary to the story. That's neither here nor there. But I'm also still watching campaign 2 and 4 of Critical Role. I unfortunately did miss the live stream though of campaign 4. I didn't even realize it was Thursday. So I am now an episode behind, which kind of sucks, but it's fine. Cameron and I will watch it on Monday when they post it on YouTube, but then I will also miss this upcoming week's episode of Critical Role because I will be on a plane, and then I will be home with my mom and my family in Indiana, so I will not be watching a 4-hour episode of Critical Role because they don't care about D&D. And also I will be in Eastern time at that point, so then when it posts at 7 p.m. here, it'll be like 12 o'clock there, and I'm gonna be asleep, especially after traveling all day, so that won't be happening. So I'll be 2 episodes behind, or 1 episode hopefully, maybe 2, depending on if Cameron and I can get our act together and watch it on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, because we kind of break it up, so we'll see what happens. But still watching those. I think I only have like, I don't know how many episodes are in campaign 2, but I'm trying to finish the actual campaign on YouTube before I watch the new animated series on Amazon Prime, because I know with how they are doing the animated series, there are some spoilers for the actual campaign, so I'm trying to I'm trying to finish the campaign first before I actually watch the animated series, so I'm avoiding spoilers like the plague. So, if you're watching it, don't tell me anything. I'm avoiding everything on social media as best as I can, because I want to take it all in, you know what I mean? Yeah, and then Cameron and I are still watching Peaky Blinders when we're not watching campaign 4. He's not watching campaign 2 with me, I'm watching campaign 2. So when he will probably watch The Mighty Nine, the animation on Amazon Prime with me, but he'll have no basis. He'll have not watched the actual campaign, which is fine. But, so we're watching Peaky Blinders in the interim of campaign 4. But yeah, other than that, the only other big thing is that I am going home to the Midwest, to Indiana, next week for my family Christmas, which I know is really, really early. We do our Christmas usually about 2 weeks before actual Christmas. We've done that pretty much my whole life as far as I know. My mom works in the casino industry and most often has to work on Christmas. So we've always done our Christmas pretty early because of that. My mom and my dad always worked on Christmas, and it always kind of worked out, especially now that my sisters have their own established families and in-laws. They often do their personal family Christmas on Christmas. And especially now that I have a job and I live not anywhere near them anymore. When I lived in Boston, which was 14 hours away from home, and now living literally on the West Coast, which is like even farther away than Boston was, it does make it a lot easier for me to get time off at work because it is like just outside of like the primo holiday time that people request time off for, and I obviously do not have seniority at my job, so it makes it a lot easier for me to get the time off and not have to compete with coworkers that have higher seniority than I do to come home. So it is very early, but it does make it a lot easier for everyone's schedules to kind of line up, and then I also don't have to worry about the chaos of the airport during the holidays as well. So I will be flying home next week to go home and have my family Christmas with my family. It's only going to be for a couple days, but it'll be really, really nice. So really excited about that, to see everybody. It's like the one time a year I get to go home. Other than that, everyone comes out to visit me, especially when I'm in a new city that no one in my family has ever visited before. So it's always super fun to have people come out and visit and show them around my new city. So really excited to go home and see everybody. But that being said, I also have to finish up my projects and get some new things cast on to hold me over while I'm home. So that is why I'm hoping to get my pressed flowers my pressed flower shawl finished, so then I can swatch and cast on for Cameron's quarter zip, which we have now decided to ditch the Lanark pullover, just because with the yarn that we chose, we think that it is too thin to meet gauge for the Half Fisherman's Rib Lanark. And he actually decided to go with the Zipper Sweater Light Man by Petite Knit, because it's a little more understated. He thinks he'll just wear it more. So, and that gauge is a little bit closer to what we need for this yarn anyway. So that's where we're going for. So my plan, finish pressed flower shawl because I need the needles. Swatch for Cameron's quarter zip. Hopefully, if my Oslo hat is finished, fantastic. If it's not, we'll take it with us. But if I take it with me, I will probably finish it. So that being said, I will probably cast on like a pair of socks to have a smaller project to work on, especially because working on a sweater is kind of a lot to work on in a plane. Granted, it will be pretty small, but it gives me some options. I have a Zauber ball in my stash that I've been like itching to cast on with. I've not used Zauber ball before, and I really like the different socks that I've seen used with Zauber ball, so I will probably grab that to use as a cast on project for my trip. So that's my plan. Finish pressed flower shawl, swatch and cast on Cameron's quarter zip, socks, and then potentially the Oslo hat to bring home. We'll see. I would prefer to finish the Oslo hat, but I also wouldn't be mad to have it because it is nice to have a small stockinette project. We'll see. Maybe we'll see. We'll see what the vibes are. Because I don't leave till Thursday. So I have 4 days. I have 4 days. It's not a lot of time. So we'll see. I feel like I could get the Oslo hat finished. I don't know about the pressed flowers. We'll see. We're being optimistic, and that tends to be my vibe with knitting. I tend to be over optimistic with my abilities, but either way, that's what's going on in my life right now. Bunch of knitting, watching the same things, reading the same book, because it takes me forever to get through a book because I can't multitask, and I don't like audiobooks. I feel like with audiobooks I zone out really badly, especially when I'm knitting and I don't even understand. I'd realize I have no idea what I just heard for the last 20 minutes, so I can't really read and knit at the same time. So unfortunately I have to choose between my hobbies, which often means I end up knitting a lot and watching YouTube or a show or Critical Role Camping 2. So not a lot of reading gets done, but I do love reading. So I usually get into phases with either reading a lot and not doing a lot of knitting, or doing a lot of knitting and not reading a lot. So eventually we will get there, especially because my coworkers are currently reading Quicksilver, and we have our own little book club at work, and they're like, you need to get your act together and finish Primal of Blood and Bone so you can read Quicksilver because you're gonna like Quicksilver. And I'm like, guys, I know, there's just, this book is so much. Primal of Blood and Bone has apparently, I'm reading it on my Kindle, but apparently there's 1,052 pages, and that's like ridiculous. So it's gonna take me so long to get through this. And I'm like not a slow reader, but like because I'm not dedicating my entire life to reading this book, this is gonna take me so long. But it's fine. We'll get through it. We'll get through it. It's fine. But yes, so I will not see you for a little bit, but we will chat after my trip home. Hopefully I will have some finished objects to share with you and a couple new cast-ons to share with you also. Alright guys, that is all I have for you today. If you liked this video, please give it a like and also subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. And click that little bell icon if you want to get any notifications for when I post in the future. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today and stopping at my little crafty corner on YouTube. See you next time. Bye.